watched a movie years ago by the name of Bicentennial Man, Robin Williams and some other characters. In the movie, basically, you have a robot that grows up with a family and in time wants to become human, wants to become his own man. And it's a bit of an aberration that he wants to be free. His master has got to read all these books on freedom and liberty and all that. And when he finally says, I want my freedom, the man goes crazy, tells him you have to leave. That's the cost. And let me stop. I think about how many people who do that, who are learning and all that stuff, and then they leave home or whatever, and they regret it. See, they done it with good intentions because they wanted to go and be their own man or whatever, but in doing that, they lost their family, they lost the things that were important to them in their quest to be free, to learn who they really are inside, what this is. Can't nobody tell you what's in you. Can't nobody tell you what's in you. You got to go out there and find it out yourself. A lot of folks spoke bad about that film. I liked it. That and AI, The Minority Report. Those are really great films, to me, my opinion, because they're different people's opinions of how the future could look. Bicentennial Man wasn't really, to me, a futuristic film, per se. It was a film about the human condition. It was a film about man, who and what he is, and what is a soul, what is a heart, what is love, what is lifetime, what is, the Minority Report, predetermination, or what you want to call it as well. Some of that in there too. I don't look at a lot of movie reviews anymore. I don't follow a lot of Western media, warmongering propaganda. But because I know that for them, it's about, like, they went to college to learn the movie's supposed to be this way and that way. And I've seen some B movies that I thought were pretty damn good because it was a message. It made me think. It left me later on like, man, that dude had a good point. You see what I'm saying? And that's the kind of shit I like. Like Oblivion. And I watched dystopic films. Was it Eco Storm? That's a good movie. They had a thing to stop climate change. The U.S. government was using it as a weapon of war. White folks, man. That's probably one of the only films where it was a futuristic film, kind of. Because not in the technology, but in the premise of climate change getting worse and how that's going to shift the national security things. You're going to have some people who are going to be flooded. You're going to have some people who are not going to be able to make their own crops and stuff. That's not due to their own failure. They just won't be able to do it. You're going to have bases that are going to be in danger of flooding, in danger of, you know what I mean? So, it's a movie I watched too. I forgot what it's called. Elysium, another good film. Getting off subject. When I read a review about Bicentennial Man, there was a guy that basically was saying he thought it was crap. And the idea of a woman having sex with a robot was disgusting. I agree. I think that's disgusting. I don't want a sex robot. I think that's gross. I don't want a sex doll, period. Much less a robot. What if something goes wrong? Stay on point. Bicentennial Man, like I said, going back to it, it made me think about myself, my own life, how I grew up around white people and went to school and all that, and how you read and you study and you learn about people's freedom, people's struggle all over the world. And when you do that, it's only a matter of time. Because I grew up believing in white supremacy. I grew up believing in America, rah, rah, rah. And I look back at that shit, I have to laugh sometimes because I'm like, that's the opposite of reality. They make this commercial I seen today. It was showing people at a protest. And they had like burning flags, and they were, talking about a whole bunch of like supposed to be anti-police stuff. They didn't show why the protest was going on. They just showed that, and they was showing this Hispanic cop up there how he was in the military, he was getting the police badge and all that stuff, and how when they got ready to run, he pulled the baton like he was getting ready to go to battle. And I just thought about how crazy this shit is. That's how it was before. That how they've totally buried the lead. You're not acknowledging why they're protesting. You're just calling them anti-American. When if you look at it, that cop probably got more in common with the protest than anybody. That's the reality. But that's what I expect from conservatives. Sit up and call black lives. Get off subject. Bicentennial Man is a movie about, like I said, a robot that grew to love. A robot that grew to have humanity. And he really wanted to be a human. He made a comment in the movie about how he could have been a machine and live forever. That he'd rather die a man. And that touched me when I was younger. That touched me watching that earlier. Like 20 minutes ago, it touched me because I'm like, damn. We always think about living a long time and living good, and we don't think about this thing had lived 200 years. This thing had lived more than 200 years in the future, man. He was messing with the granddaughter of the little girl he grew up with. You understand what I'm trying to say to you? That's over 2 lifetimes. And the woman was like in her 40s or 30s when he met her. And it was a little girl he grew up with. When he left, when he had to leave and had to leave the house, she was real she was like 8 or something, 7, little girl. That's a long time. Because he went out in the world trying to find robots like himself. But he couldn't. I guess he was going to try to... There's a lot of depth in that movie, man. It would take... You could sit down and really write a book about all the different paths in that movie that weren't really taken. Him wanting to find people like him, he was unable to do so because that just didn't exist. It's almost like for black people, us trying to go out here and be our own. It's almost impossible. We don't have anything. So in time, when he came back, it's almost kind of like a little boy becoming a teenager and having to go out and, you young, you want to do some crazy things. You want to smoke some weed, go to the graveyard. You're going to do things that you look back on and you like, how did I not get shot? How did I not get my ass whooped for that? That happens. That's a part of your human development and your growth as a man. Totally normal. Within reason. Now, he come back, he met that dude, the dude helped him, and the dude was like the great-grandson of the dude that had built his robot. Isn't that crazy? He's like the great-grandson of that dude. You never know. You build something, your great-grandchildren could be working on it. That, I don't know, kind of touching. And he wanted to become human. He wanted to have sexual interactions. He wanted to have feelings. He wanted to feel love. He loved the woman so much that he was willing to give up his life. And I think that was something that happened over time. Just the reality of, I think the old man that threw him out died. And me, myself, I'm looking at people that I was raised around that are dying. And it makes you think about your own mortality because we're out here living our lives, doing what we want to do, having fun, sometimes not having fun. But we're out here living our lives, and you don't really sit down and think that one day this is going to end. One day this is going to end. I'm not going to live forever. I'm not going to be here forever. until you're up there, someone's bedside who's dying, or you watch him die. That's what it kind of made me think about that, because I left the church and I left all those people, and I don't regret that at all. If I go back in time, I would tell myself, yes, I would have left earlier. Because like a cult, you don't have to be like that to be liked or loved. No. And I still get to go back sometimes and see these funerals and see people and just be there for them and, pay my respects. That's what he did. And the father was like, I'm sorry. And it makes you think, when you're young, you don't understand that you got to have timing. And you've got to look at things from other people's points of view. See, when you're young, you think it's about, I work and I make this money. I work so I get the money to put the gas in my car to drive. I work so I get the money to have clothes and TVs. And as I get older, I realize, no, it's give and take. Like people in traffic, it's give and take. This life is give and take. We can't all just take. That's why you have these wrecks out here, because no one wants to take. No one wants to give. Nobody wants to give in. Nobody wants to give patience and take a moment. No one wants to do that. Everybody's just about me. It's about me only. Fuck everybody else. And that movie is just a real good example, I think, to young people out here who are like him, who are reading, not in that way to become human, but just reading all these books about freedom and liberation and the struggle and everything. And then like, you know what? I want to go out here and do this. Well, you can. But you have good timing. Sometimes, people love you and you push them away. They love you, and by you being bullheaded, maybe for good reason, good intention, you being bullheaded, you push them away. And you will live to regret that. I think that's the message. It wasn't no message there, but that's the message I got from it. He had good reason. He was like, hey, I want to be free. And he was like, listen, I'll come back whenever you want. I can stay here, but I want to be free. And the dad's like, no, you got to leave now. And it's like, what? Why? I love you. I still want to be here for you. And the old man's like, no. When you're old and you're set in your ways and all that, that's how, especially white men, that's how it is. And he didn't understand that. I learned that with my grandfather. I learned that with all those older people I grew up with. You have to be understanding to that they're trying to get their remote and get in their recliner and watch Jeopardy. You know what I mean? They're trying to get their remote and watch Wheel of Fortune or watch Steve Harvey or America's Most Funniest Videos. They're not trying to hear all that, and he didn't understand that. It's never wrong to do your own thing, but you got to have timing. You got to have timing, and you got to know when it's right. And that was a mistake, because he broke up the getting off subject. So anyway, he went out there, he did his own thing. He ended up, I'm not gonna go through the whole movie, but met that girl. We went on his pilgrimage and come back, met that girl. He fell in love. And that's when he realized, I want to be a man. This whole time I've been pretending that I was a robot in the body of a man. But really I'm a robot that wants, I'm making sense or not there, but that's the opposite. I want to be a man for her. I want to be there for her, and all that kind of stuff. And that's an interesting premise to me. And that's why I read that comment talking about it's disgusting. I don't like it. I think it's kind of gross. But it makes me be thankful, because it makes me think about what I have as a man inside myself, and how somebody's willing to give up immortality to live a couple of years with this. We're going to go through all that just to do this, just to go through the struggle, the grind, having medical problems, and things like that. But what got me was when the girl died. He came to the hospital. That, to me, that was one of the most touching scenes of the film. There's two scenes, well, maybe three scenes. When he went to see Little Miss in the hospital. When the girl he liked was getting married, and he was like hiding back to looking at her, and she was looking like, "Come get me," and then it's kind of similar to. Remember when he was first hanging out with the girl? Little Miss had grew up, and Little Miss was about to marry this guy, and he was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Who else?" And he wanted to tell her, "I like you," but he didn't, and she ran off and got married. He missed his chance, which is crazy to say it because he was a robot. What they gonna do? Especially back then, what she gonna do? Wait for you? She a young girl, got everything going for her. She gonna wait for you? Gonna lose a lot of friends, family? No. But it was still the point that you've got to be true. You've got to play it true because you won't get another chance. That's hard when you love people secretly and you have secret loves and things like that. It's tough because you're giving up how you really feel. Everybody can't do that. So, like I said, for me, it was when he seen Little Miss in the hospital. She had that stroke. When he seen the girl, he was out there and the girl had the dress on and all that, and he was like, huh? And she was looking. She was like, "Come get me." And the last one, well, probably four, I'm sorry, was when the second time he went to the World Court. And the very last one was when he was in the bed at the end. They told him, "We validate your humanity." That was touching. And the woman said, he's dead. She was like, "Unplug me." She wanted to follow him. She loved him that much, man. He did everything he could to become a man, a flesh and blood man like me, like you. And he died. And she was like, "Did he hear it?" And the woman was like, "Yeah, he heard. Like his last breath, his last thing was, 'You're human.'" And the woman was like, "I want to follow him." That's something, ain't it, man? You never know what people do when you're not around. You never know what people do. Really, man, the movie is about love and about what it means to be human, and that we all have a timeline. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure I'd want to live 200 years. And I say that because I'm a human being and I have health problems. If I get that old, I know that. But I'm just not sure I'd want to do. But at the same time, I don't have a lot of people around me, and I'm fine with that. I'm still young. I'm fine with that. And we're getting off subject. The first time he went to World Court, first time he went there, and he was like, "I want to be a human." The white man's like, "Well, where are you human?" He's like, "I'm human here." "Yes, but are you human here?" And he was like, people, society will never accept a human that can live forever. It might accept a robot, not a human. And I find it interesting between him, and it was all brightly lit and everything. I think later on, it was like some time had passed. And you can see the woman had got older. He became completely human. And he became completely human. And there was a black woman running the World Court then. So that's probably 20 or 30 years past, I guess. I don't know. And she was like, "Well, black woman was like, 'All right, I hear you.'" And she ended up doing that for him, making him, validate his humanity. I was wondering why in the movie with the white dude it was real brightly lit, but when the black woman was running it was real dark in the room. And I guess that's just because of the fact that the movie was kind of telling you the movie get ready to end. Kind of like closing down, kind of like toning down the movie a little bit. I guess, yeah. So it's kind of weird. You see a court this dark. Kind of weird, huh? But once again, it makes me think about what it means to be human as a man. We take it for granted. We take our lives for granted. We take our experiences for granted. Here you had someone that had immortality, but was willing to give it up. You know, that's really you could really look into the movie for quite a while. You could look at the movie for probably a week, a college class, just break it down. So much stuff in that. What it means to be human, the human condition, being willing, choosing to die instead of choosing to live forever. When I was younger, I didn't really get that. I guess I was a weird kid or something, but I didn't get that you're willing to give up immortality and, you know, being logical and all that, to one day you're going to be in a wheelchair, nursing home, babbling incoherently. You want that life? Is that really what you want? You know? I don't know. Deep movie, y'all. Peace.